And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, Tickety Boo, everything's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, son. Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tickety Boo. I'm back with Iona and Ian, and as always, we are kicking off with what we refer to as the card shuffle. We have a deck of cards that have numerous questions about life and all these kind of things. We have no idea what the question is going to be, so Ian is going to shuffle the cards and we'll see what we get. So he can shuffle, you shout stop, and then we'll just go for it.
Okay, here we go.
And stop.
Oh, that wasn't long. Okay, right. Today's subject is if you could ask your future self one question, what would it be? Ooh.
Oh God! Right, okay. If you could ask your future self one question, what would it be? What would it be?
Oh my gosh, I'm completely stumped by that one. That's usually quite often something that I work with. How about you, Andy? What would you do?
Oh my God! I think if to pick one question is probably quite difficult. I think I would have multiple questions. Maybe, do you forgive me for all the mistakes I made? Bit of a deep one, but you know.
Who would you be asking the question to?
Yourself? I think the question probably would be is to yourself. Maybe it would. Well, would it be?
Well, I think we've talked a lot about forgiveness before, and that's an interesting topic because forgiveness is all actually about ourselves, forgiving ourselves for the choices we've made, forgiving others. It doesn't mean that something wasn't unhelpful or challenging or disruptive to our lives. But, you know, if we don't forgive, we hold on to that. And that's the burden, because quite frankly, if it's about other people, we know if they didn't care and they hurt us in the first place, it doesn't affect their life. So forgiveness, actually, I think it's of yourself and how you've shown up or reacted or responded. Yeah, It's an interesting one, that one.
I'd say that question leaves you with a bit of work, a bit of self-reflection now. Because if you're having to ask your future self, that means you need to do that now. You're the villain in your own story.
Well, I think in reality, what we think today the question would be very different at whatever point it is in the future. But based on what we know today, we're kind of pushing ourselves forwards, aren't we? And kind of going, I would probably ask myself this.
Yeah, because the question I would have asked myself, if you'd have asked me this 10 years ago, it would have been very different because it's in a very different place. Where now, having done a lot of work, as we know, we've all been trained in mental health and we understand how the mind works and how we work physically and energetically. That's why I think I'm struggling with this question. What would I ask my past self? It's interesting because I've been going through a lot of my mum's and my dad's history and their photos and their paperwork. And so I think my question would be more, I'd want to go back and ask them questions now rather than what would I ask of my future self, of past self. Like it would be more like a reminder to ask those around me now and learn about them now, because it's finding out about people once they're gone it's lovely or not. It depends what you're finding out. But I think it's that. So I think it's for me, this is a reminder to be present and to be asking those around me and to be present as a friend and get to know people who are in my life now.
But I think kind of, as Ian touched on, we should be asking ourselves these questions now.
Yeah.
Yes.
As well, so we can continuously reflect as we move forwards in life rather than sort of this delayed process of going, let's wait until the future.
I was going to say, because part of your question is, you're almost saying, will I find peace?
Well, yeah, I think you are, because, I mean, let's be honest, most of our life lessons, if not taught to us by somebody, are generally learned by fumbling and actually getting it wrong, if you know what I mean. And I think we are quite tough on ourselves as humans for getting things wrong and making mistakes. But, yeah, you know, the question definitely does lead into self-respect, you know, sort of self-reflection, where you're at on your own journey. I mean, to be honest, the answer I give today will be different 15 years from today. I suppose the best question I could probably ask my future self was, at that stage, whenever that is, what's the biggest lesson you've learned on your journey?
That is a...
How about you, Ian?
What would my question be? Now, this one's a bit, I suppose probably a bit boring. My question would probably be, will it all work out? One is because my life's always a little bit carnage. And the other thing is, it's sort of, I don't know if it's the right or wrong question to ask. Firstly, because unpredictability and figuring things out and this need for self-growth is what drives me. But then at the same time, will it all work out? That then satisfies your need for certainty. And then, so it takes away the
I think
stress.
you can take that a layer back. This drive and this need for uncertainty. Is that striving or is that an addiction to chaos? Because I think in today's world where everything's pretty stressy and drive and move forwards, do we become addicted? We've talked about this before, the hustle, the grind, the do more.
Yeah. And also because there is no such thing as control. If we're striving for control, that's an illusion, and that is the disillusionment that we all think. Because the harder we hold on and the more certain we are, because it's always unpredictable. And I strongly believe everything always works out in the end. It may not be how we think. It will. And it's, again, I think we're all striving for, we may or may not know it, is for peace, is for calm. But a lot of us, if we're striving, if we're hustling, if we're enjoying the chaos, then that's actually, because that's what's familiar, or that's what we've always known, and that's what actually makes us feel safe and in control, ironically.
Yeah, but for me, it's nice to have the comfort. And the chaos, to me, isn't always chaos. There's got to be an element of that. It's like, I want to grow, I want to learn, I thrive off that. I like the pressure, to a degree, obviously, not as I make it for myself at times. But when your cortisol's firing off and your fight and flight is telling you not to do things because you've got that feeling that you need security, what that sometimes does is it drives mediocrity. It stops you from thriving and moving forwards. So that's why I was like, is that the right question or is it the wrong question to say, will it work out? Because it takes that away. And the way that we grow is challenges.
Well, it tips into that whole conversation around thriving and surviving, doesn't it?
And they're so closely linked.
Like massively. Am I thriving and driving myself forwards, or am I putting myself into situations where I constantly have to survive and move forwards?
Because they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you have to say, how many times have we said this? What's your why?
Yeah.
What's your why? And I've made the mistake in the past, and we're kind of coming away from the question now, but I think it's relevant, is when we strive, which I think is good, we should learn and we should want to grow and we want to develop. And I think humans, do push themselves. But the problem is when you get here, does that then repeat again and again? And it's like, where's the summit? Where does that, when it comes to gain and moving forward, when is it, I said we had a chat just off air a minute ago, when does enough become enough? What's the end point?
Well, and then I call that the achievement trap. Where we're constantly, and we never, if you're going chasing that achievement, you actually never arrive, because it's like it keeps.
Well, you keep moving your expectations and your needs, don't you?
They will evolve, but it depends sometimes why you're doing it. If you're doing things for a dopamine hit, for short time, for sort of short term, relief or enjoyment or fulfillment, but then you return back down to your base setting after you've got it. So then you're then striving for something else. That's when it becomes unproductive, because you can find yourself overstretching yourself, doing things to impress other people, not because it's for you. Well, it's like getting a car you can't afford, a house you can't afford, so it becomes a trap.
But the other thing is, I think that we need to look at the human nature of how we become addicted to stuff. And what I mean by that is we have an addiction to discomfort because it's familiar. So, you get somebody that's always busy, always hustling, working more, striving more, and all the rest of it. And secretly, deep down, they want peace, but they're afraid of that. They want to step away from the hustle, but they're like, peace actually feels really uncomfortable to me. Stopping feels uncomfortable to me.
It does to me.
Yeah. Well, and look, I've been forced to stop, as I've shared very publicly. Like, I've been pushed to my edge with the amount of loss and things that have come up over the last 2 years and over the last 10 years. I've just stopped. Like, I'm not working anymore at the moment. I'm doing like what is the bare minimum I can do? And oh my gosh, I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling better. I'm taking time out. But my nervous system got really fried like just a couple of weeks ago. And I was literally at my breaking point, and it was thanks to friends around me that helped me through the last challenge, which I'm sure I'll end up sharing in an episode coming up soon. But it was that moment, and sometimes it takes that. So it's so much nicer if we can reach that point of actually, what do I really need to do? What do I really need for success, to be happy, to be peaceful? And right now, it's like I'm not doing a lot. I've got friends coming to visit, and I'm certainly not hustling right now.
That really resonates with me because I was ill not that long ago, and a couple of trips into hospital and stuff, and I was forced to take 3 weeks out. And I felt really uncomfortable just stopping and doing nothing. I had no choice. My body physically couldn't continue. And I was really frustrated and uncomfortable in doing nothing. I had some amazing people step up and help me. But also in that moment, there was a lesson in that this is what it could be like if you don't make choices and move your life where you can take rest. Because I've been very much guilty in my life of rest as a reward. Rest comes at the back of an intense period of doing. And I actually said to myself, okay, this was a virus that took me out of the game and made me really ill. But what if this was just like self-inflicted through lifestyle, through stress, through overwhelm? I would hate to be in a position where I'm forced to stop living the life I want because of the decisions I refuse to face and make changes in my life. Yeah. And I think if I was to go forward in the future, the question I would probably ask would be like, could I have made better choices earlier on, so where we find ourselves today could have been a bit more content, a bit
I love
more
that.
enjoyable.
And coming full circle
Yeah.
on the reflection of the conversation we've had, it would be, have you made opportunities for peace and rest without guilt? Because that's the thing, without being the hustle. So I would ponder that question to myself.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Because how to do that. So I think it would be more of an instruction so I love that we've kind of come full circle from having had this discussion.
Yeah, I think we could talk about it all afternoon, and probably the question would constantly change and evolve, wouldn't it? It's fluid. It's never going to be that one space. But I think, wouldn't it be sad to get to the end of your life and only do that reflection at that point?
It would, but if I learn all my life's lessons now, well, it takes the whole point out of the journey.
The thing is, I don't think it's so much about not learning the life lessons now. What humans do, and I'm definitely guilty of this, we learn the lesson. So like when I was ill, and I'm lying there, I'm going, I'm not doing this anymore. I am not working flat out all these hours, not taking rest. I'm going to stop eating crap food. I'm going to look after myself better, because I was really ill and feeling a bit sorry for myself. And here I am at the other side of it, and those old behaviours I swore I'd never do again, I'm slipping back into.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame when you get to that car crash moment or something's happened to you, where you go, it takes you to really go, I need to stop this. But we keep repeating the patterns. Yeah. And I think that's really kind of what I'm saying. You'd hate to be 20 years from now going, the quality of my life and my fitness could have been better if I listened to the lessons I knew back then, but I continue to ignore. I think that's the thing. Yeah. We know the lessons, but we ignore them, don't we? Yeah. Until we're kind of in crisis. But I think, it is a great question. But I think my takeaway from this episode would be, ask yourself these questions, not just once, lots of times, as you continuously evaluate and move forwards, and create space and time in your life to actually reflect.
Yes. I think
on
so
the
too.
lessons.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a good little episode. Good card to pick in. Well done.
It went down a bit of a rabbit hole.
It did, yeah, but that's the whole point of the cards. So we hope you enjoyed that episode. Thanks very much for watching, and we will catch you in the next episode of Tickety Boo.
If you or someone close to you needs to access mental health support, please contact your GP, or if it's out with normal office hours, get in touch with NHS 24 on 111. Alternatively, contact the Samaritans on 116 123. All calls are free of charge from any phone. You can also find more support information on the Tickety Boo website, ticketyboopodcast.co.uk.